Afghanistan. A pilot has been shot down behind enemy lines. With Air Force A-10 support, an Army helicopter brings a combat search and rescue team to the injured pilot. That is the scene playing out in the air and on the ground near Ruby, Arizona, 75 miles south of Tucson. In the homeland, survival training for these wartime missions is ongoing. It prepares pilots and crew for worst-case scenarios.
If you want to talk real world, I mean, more than likely, if it was a terrorist group looking for them or enemy troops even looking for them, they'd want to capture them rather than kill them because they can use that against us.
With survival medicine, I mean, obviously, you bail out, you eject out, you ditch your aircraft.
Tech Sergeant Tony Fancher is a survival training specialist. He teaches airmen how to survive alone under adverse conditions. The program is known as SERE, or Survival, Evasion, Resistance, and Escape. Every 3 years, those who are at high risk for isolation must recertify in this program.
Well, this week, I mean, it's been full bird colonels to, all the way down to A1Cs, and it's usually that way each month. It'll be a big array of different ranks, whether it's enlisted or officer. Mainly the reason why we have this is more of an insurance policy, so they have a means to be able to get back home with honor and in good health.
One of the airmen recertifying is Staff Sergeant Whitney Levering. She is a cryptologic airborne linguist. Her language specialty is Persian Farsi, primarily spoken in Iran and Afghanistan. Her work happens in the air, on this plane. The EC-130 Compass Call is a jamming platform.
We deny and degrade and disrupt a lot of the enemy communications. And that communications part is where the linguist falls into place. But it's not just about us. We also work with a mission crew supervisor who works closely with the electronic warfare officers. All together, we work as this one unit.
Don't forget feet apart, okay?
Today, Levering's plane has been hit by enemy fire. She's parachuted from her plane and landed in an unknown body of water.
With any stressful situation, your mind gives you a block, and it really impacts how you're physically reacting to something. And so by doing this water survival training, it allows us to take a step back and to actually see how much stress is putting on you and the ways that you can manage that and then react accordingly.
Sergeant Fancher sees this training as a kind of practice run, a way to prepare airmen in harm's way how best to react, respond, and return home.
You hear people like during active shooter situations, where you hear about people freezing, that's where they go over that stress curve and they're like, I don't know what to do, so I'm just like frozen, and frozen with fear. Incorporating that stress inoculation with these guys, that actually helps them to overcome that fear.
SERE training includes classroom work, where pilots and crew are briefed on previous missions and what did and didn't work. There are lighthearted moments that break the mood, but they all know this is serious business and people's lives are at stake. From the classroom, they move into simulated parachute jumps.
Most aircrew have never jumped out of an airplane before, let alone did it from an in-flight emergency or their plane being shot down. In this case, the C-130 guys, would be bailing out, and they need to know what their actions are under canopy.
All right, so you hit, top.
The training continues on a rainy day in the desert.
It's probably getting down below 50 degrees. They're going to be wet. They're going to be really wet out there. November, Papa, how copy?
The scenario that I set up for them was, they were shot down in enemy territory. Now they were evading. First thing they want to do is make sure everyone's okay. Some of those pilots would be by themselves, and then gather any equipment that they want to take with them, and then they get out of Dodge. They want to break contact with that spot as well as the enemy, putting time and distance between them. At that point, they want to just try to find some concealment so they can calm down and assess their situation, maybe drink a little bit of water, and then start performing the actions they need to do to get home. If you're just running through the woods willy-nilly and not really paying attention, you're going to run into another enemy patrol and get captured.
And sometimes they fail, putting a finer point on what could happen if they are captured. Sergeant Fancher is the enemy in this scenario.
Is there more than you?
Fancher breaks down the flaws in the airman's attempt to remain concealed.
Yeah, you were out in the open. I mean, it's pretty open right here. Maybe using some of those low-lying spots right there. Some of those, you got some trees back there.
10-year veteran Sergeant Tony Fancher has deployed as a SERE specialist on numerous missions, training U.S. servicemen in conflict zones on contested ground.
I hope they take away that, this could happen to them and that they're not invincible. There's a few pilots out there that I know, they think this will never happen to them. But that history has shown, that we go to war with someone, more than likely this will happen.
The history of war does bear that out. Fancher wears a permanent reminder on his skin.
This is a tattoo that represents POW MIA. There's a guy in the box here, you can see his head and a blindfold right there. I actually got this picture off of a book called Survivors. It's about several POWs in Vietnam. It reminds me of why I do this job. The air crew, people who are at high risk, they get captured, they could become POWs.
All right, so we got warmth right here, right?
I've thought about it, and it's definitely a scary thought, but going through this survival training, it gives me a little more of a comfort and confidence, I guess you can say, and at least I have a direction of what I should do.
Sergeant Levering's last deployment was to Bagram, Afghanistan, where her unit provided communication support to special forces on the ground. She joined the Air Force primarily to gain experience and fund her education. Whitney Levering got much more than she expected.
You're really close. I mean, we go through this survival training together. We go through a lot of training together. There's only so many crew members on the plane, and so you get to know each other very, very well. And it's like a little family while you're flying, and you know everybody's quirks and their flaws and their strengths, and it gives you a sense of belonging. And I think any person in a career or in their life wants to feel part of something that's bigger than themselves. And the Air Force has really given me that.